Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Today I'm starting a new project, so I just wanted to kind of share it with you guys, and I'm going to try, depending on how long the video is, I'll try to pack as much of the process into one video as I can. But we are going to start with this box that I found at Goodwill. It was originally $12 and I probably got it on sale if I bought it. But it's got this nice opening lid. There's a interior tray that is separate from the box. There's a pretty deep interior there. It's got it's pretty banged up. It's got some scratches, but it is hefty, and it's got these handles on the side. And this is going to be our project box. And my idea now is to turn it into like a Dwarven inspired treasure chest. So I've had a little bit of time to brainstorm this idea, and what I did was I actually traced the exterior of the box onto a piece of paper just so I could kind of see the size and what we were working with, and make notes about what kind of changes I wanted to make or things that we wanted to do. So if we have our box, and then there's like a little curve kind of like this, and then there is a interior tray on the inside. One of the things that originally came to mind is, like a Dwarven treasure chest might have a lock or some sort of like golden kind of fixture. Obviously that might be a bit beyond my skill level. So what I wanted to do was try to salvage some old belts from a resale store and actually create belts that kind of buckle around the entire chest, around these kind of wavy points, right? So here would be like a buckle, and then these belts would kind of wrap around the outside, and I haven't decided if they'll go under the chest at all because it might make things a little unbalanced, but I feel like it'd be cool to kind of unbuckle these, and then the lid would lift up. The other thing I wanted to experiment with changing is that inside of the box there's a little interior tray that removes, and it has these little handles right here, and I want to see if I can either mold something new, 3D print something new, or cast something, just some different handles that are a little more Dwarven inspired. Not that these are bad in any way, but you can kind of, I don't know if you can see it actually, they're just kind of mediocre. I don't know, they're just like little handles that you use to kind of pull the tray out, and I feel like we can make something really cool here, like maybe some little hammers, or maybe a different type of handle around that same size, but maybe with some Dwarven runes or something on it. Now for the exterior of the box, we are going to refinish the entire thing, so I will sand it down, we'll refinish it with kind of a hammered metal sort of look. I'm not going to be able to draw that, but where it's like little dents all over the entire thing, and it kind of gives it a lot of texture, a lot of shadows, a lot of highlights, and kind of gives it like a hammered metal feel. Back to creating little handles for the tray, I also wanted to create little style handles for the lid. So once you unbuckle these clasps and you kind of pull back the leather straps, there would be handles that kind of help you raise the lid, because right now there are none. So I was thinking of kind of like using some Dwarven inspired sort of architecture handles with like little runes here. Obviously that's not to scale, but just some little handles to where once you unbuckle it, you can grab those little handles and flip it open, and then you've got these little handles to take out the tray. Just a really like tactile feel to it. Basic premise that I want to follow is this interior rolling tray is going to be for rolling your dice. So we will add these little handles onto the side to where you can pick it up and pull it out and set it down, and then reline the interior with like velvet or leather, maybe a little padding or something. I've created one of these in the past for myself. I'll show that off real quick, but it turned out pretty well, and I want to do the same thing for this box. So this is the rolling tray that I made for myself a while ago, and I kind of painted some draconic runes along the outside. super simple. I just put down some foam padding and then a layer of felt. And what that padding does is it allows a little bit of dampening when you roll the dice. So these are metal dice, which if any of you have used it, you know that metal dice are pretty loud when rolled on a table, especially a wooden table. And this felt and padding combo kind of dampens that sound a little bit. You know, you can kind of hear it hitting the wood, but you don't hear it initially hitting the rolling pad.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes for a much quieter rolling experience. So I want to create one of these to put into our Dwarven box. For the box interior, so we're talking about all this space underneath the rolling tray, I want to use that for dice storage, and maybe I'll look into see, I'll have to do some measuring, but maybe some miniature storage, like little foam slots where you can put your minis in there. But the main focus I want to definitely be dice storage, and there's a couple different ways that I can do dice storage. I guess the most traditional one that everyone's familiar with is like here's your dice box. They cut a little wooden groove that's kind of like this, and it's not very deep, but they'll cut kind of a little wooden groove that kind of is shallow on this end, and it gets much deeper, and then it kind of like shallows out again at the other end. And you just kind of put your dice in here, and you know, maybe the lid has a little bit of foam padding that kind of covers this so they don't rattle around too much. But again, I've made a separate dice box for myself where I cut different rows for my dice, and what I did was I kind of cut some thick foam into like a trench type of pattern, and your dice kind of sit inside that trench, and this is like a top-down view, right? So you have all these rows and your dice kind of line up. So you have all your D20s, all your D12s, your D6s, your D10s, you know. They're all kind of lined up, so if it says grab 2 D10s, you just grab 2 D10s, bloop, and you're good to go. The other way that we could do dice storage is have it kind of individualized, right? So if anybody, maybe if you only have one dice set, you kind of have this open space of foam, and you kind of cut out these inserts like so, and you kind of do it to size to where your D20 fits in there perfect, your D12 fits there perfect, your 2 D10s, you know, and each dice has its own spot. It could be a little bit more complicated than the other two methods, but we'll have to do some measuring and figure out which one works best. The last thing that I took notes on, we're back to our overall view here, is on the lid of the box, right? So this is kind of the box open, and we're looking at the inside of it. But if you can imagine that the lid is shut, so you wouldn't see any of this. Okay, so our lid is shut. We've got our two dwarven handles showing here. We've got our two leather straps kind of holding this thing shut. I wanted to cut in the lid actual grooves for the leather straps to where when they are sitting on the box, if here's your box as like a front view, you know, your belts would actually sit inside of that groove, and they wouldn't stick up super far, versus having a front view like this with some big old belts that kind of come over the top, nice big bulky things. I kind of want them to sit inside of a little groove, so we'll have to carve out like a little negative into the lid here, just to kind of make it a little more shallow to where when you pull those belts over, they sit nice and flush. And aside from that, I kind of wanted to do some like dwarven runes around maybe the outside. Maybe it's like a magical kind of lock, or just like a warning, or maybe it's telling you whose property it is. But I wanted to do some sort of big dwarven symbol in the middle here, in between the two belts. So if, you know, I'm just going to make up a dwarven rune there. Almost looks like a little hangman noose. So we put a big dwarven symbol there, kind of front and center. Maybe that's indicating like whose property it is, and this is some sort of dwarven spell or rules for opening, or the contents, or who knows, right? But that's kind of how I want the exterior to look, kind of on this hammered metal texture. Two leather straps kind of holding it shut. You unbuckle the two belts, you lift up the lid from these handles. You've got an interior rolling tray that you can pull out from some new handles that we make, and then beneath that you would have your dice storage, maybe some miniature storage, maybe if I can get creative enough, maybe some storage for like pens and pencils and what have you. Okay, so there's the brainstorming session a little bit. We've got kind of our initial trace out and like, just this is me brainstorming and writing down the actual ideas that I liked. And then we've got, of course, kind of a more conceptualized diagram, a little more detail, actually putting it on the paper. But we're going to leave the video there, and we'll check back with the next one where we'll do some cleaning, some disassembly, and we'll get started on creating our Dwarven treasure chest.